My parents refused to attend my wedding because I got married before my perfect sister. Now relatives are boycotting her lavish wedding, and my parents are furious, blaming me for ruining their reputation. I always knew I was the forgotten daughter, overshadowed by my younger sister Isabelle, the beautiful, successful, golden child. But I never expected my own parents to skip my wedding just because I got married before her. Before we dive into this intense story, we have a small favor to ask. Drop a comment below and tell us where you're watching from. It's always incredible to see how far our stories reach. Thank you so much. Now let's dive in. I, Vanessa Carter, 28F, got married 8 months ago to my longtime boyfriend, Lucas, 30M, after being together for 4 years. It was a beautiful wedding, one we had meticulously planned to ensure that every detail was perfect. Friends, extended family, and loved ones gathered to celebrate the happiest day of my life. But amidst the joy, there was a glaring absence. My parents, Margaret and Charles Carter, and my younger sister, Isabelle, 26F. I wasn't surprised that Isabelle didn't attend. We had never truly gotten along, and I had only extended the invitation out of sheer politeness. But my parents? That was a different story. Their absence shocked me, though deep down, maybe it shouldn't have. Isabelle had always been their golden child, the one they could proudly parade around, the one who shined in every room she entered. While I was the forgotten daughter, she was their masterpiece. Tall, stunning, and effortlessly charismatic, Isabelle had even dabbled in modeling during college before shifting her focus to a business career. She was the kind of daughter parents boasted about at dinner parties. I, on the other hand, was ordinary, shorter, a little rounder, quieter. I wasn't remarkable in their eyes, and I had accepted that long ago. Growing up, I had tried everything to win my parents' affection. I worked hard, achieved good grades, and tried to make them proud. But nothing was ever enough. No matter what I did, I would always be standing in Isabelle's shadow. Eventually, I gave up trying. Instead of fighting for their approval, I focused on building my own life. Still, I had maintained a distant yet cordial relationship with my parents, mostly for the sake of appearances. They cared about what people thought, and I didn't want to stir unnecessary drama. But when my wedding day arrived, they didn't show up. No calls, no messages, nothing. I tried reaching out before the ceremony, but they ignored my calls. I assumed there had been some emergency, some dire reason they hadn't come. But after the wedding, when the celebrations had settled and the questions from relatives started rolling in, I knew I needed answers. So I called them. When my mother finally picked up, her tone was icy, clipped, rehearsed. "Vanessa, we're very hurt. We didn't even receive an invitation." I froze. That was a lie. I knew without a shadow of a doubt that they had received both a physical and digital invitation. Lucas and I had checked our guest list multiple times to ensure that no one was left out. "That's impossible," I said, trying to keep my voice even. "I sent you one. Both of you." My mother scoffed. "Well, we never got it. It's incredibly hurtful that you didn't think to formally invite your own parents to your wedding." A lie. An obvious lie. I could have called them out on it. But what was the point? If they wanted to gaslight me, I wouldn't give them the satisfaction of fighting back. Instead, I apologized. Not because I meant it, but because I was done playing their games. After hanging up, I told Lucas everything. He had suspected something was off from the start, and now everything clicked into place. "They skipped your wedding because you got married before Isabelle," he said. "They couldn't handle it." At first I thought he was overreacting, but then he reminded me of the strange behavior they had exhibited throughout our engagement. When I first called to tell them about my engagement, their reaction wasn't happiness. It was shock, disappointment. At my engagement party, instead of mingling with guests, my parents sat in the corner, whispering on the phone. Lucas had overheard the call. Isabelle was crying on the other end. My parents were consoling her, comforting her like she was the one who had lost something. And now, this ridiculous lie about not receiving an invitation, it all made sense. They had deliberately skipped my wedding because, in their minds, Isabelle should have been the first to get married. And since she wasn't, they had chosen to sulk, prioritizing her feelings over my once-in-a-lifetime moment. That was the moment I decided I was done. If they wanted to continue their lives worshiping Isabelle while treating me as an afterthought, so be it. But I wasn't going to pretend anymore. I cut contact. No more appearances, no more forced smiles, no more pretending we were a happy family. For 8 months, I lived in peace. Until a few weeks ago when the golden child got engaged. And that's when everything exploded. 8 months of silence, 8 months of peace. No calls, no texts, no forced interactions. I had finally freed myself from my parents' toxic favoritism. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like an outsider in my own family. But of course, it couldn't last forever. The news came through the family grapevine. Isabelle was engaged. My parents wasted no time making a spectacle out of it. They flooded social media with posts about how proud they were, how beautiful the engagement ring was, how excited they were for the wedding of the decade. They had barely acknowledged my marriage, but for Isabelle, they were ready to roll out the red carpet. And they weren't being subtle about it either. They booked one of the most expensive wedding venues in the city. My mother started bragging to her friends that Isabelle would be wearing a custom Vera Wang gown, a dress that cost more than my entire wedding. They hired a wedding planner who had worked with celebrities, ensuring that Isabelle's wedding would be a luxury event no one would forget. But despite all the money and effort they were pouring into this wedding, there was one problem. No one wanted to go. At first, I didn't think much of it. I wasn't planning to attend anyway, so it wasn't my problem. But then the calls started coming. My cousins reached out first. "We're not going to Isabelle's engagement party," my cousin Brianna confessed. "Honestly, after the way your parents treated you, none of us feel comfortable celebrating with them." Then came my aunts and uncles. "Your wedding was beautiful, Vanessa. It's disgusting how your parents didn't show up. I don't think I can sit through Isabelle's wedding and pretend everything is fine." And just like that, the rumors spread. The family had heard everything. How my parents skipped my wedding. How they tried to gaslight me into thinking I never invited them. How they sided with Isabelle when she cried over my engagement instead of celebrating my happiness. Word got around, and one by one, my relatives decided that they wanted nothing to do with my parents, and Isabelle's extravagant wedding was now at risk of becoming a ghost town. Then, a few days ago, my parents called. I ignored them at first, blocked their numbers, but they kept trying, calling from different phones, leaving messages until finally I decided to pick up. As soon as I answered, my mother's voice dripped with venom. "Vanessa, you have ruined your sister's wedding!" I blinked. "Excuse me? We know you've been going around spreading lies about us," she snapped. "Your sister is devastated. Our family is refusing to attend because of you." I laughed. Actually laughed. "Oh, and what exactly did I say that wasn't true?" I asked, my voice eerily calm. She hesitated. I could hear my father grumbling in the background before he grabbed the phone. "You've been poisoning everyone against us," he bellowed. "Isabelle's engagement party is this weekend and no one is coming. You did this on purpose to make us look bad." That's when I realized they weren't mad about what I said. They were mad that people finally saw them for who they really were. "So, let me get this straight," I said. "You ignored my wedding, tried to gaslight me into thinking I never invited you, and made it clear that Isabelle is your only priority. But now that the family has chosen to distance themselves from you, it's suddenly my fault." "You twisted everything," my mother shrieked. "I didn't twist a damn thing," I shot back. "I told the truth. You made your choices, and now you're facing the consequences. If our family doesn't want to support you anymore, maybe, just maybe, it's because of the way you treated me." Silence, and then the final nail in the coffin. "You know what?" I said, my voice laced with pure exhaustion. "If you want people to believe you're good parents, maybe you should have been good parents." I hung up, blocked their numbers, for good this time. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like I was the one who had lost something. I thought it was over. I thought my parents would finally crawl back into their perfect fantasy world, pretending I didn't exist while planning Isabelle's wedding. But I had underestimated how desperate they were to save their reputation. 2 days after that explosive phone call, I got a message from an unknown number, Isabelle. At first, I debated deleting it without reading it, but curiosity won. "Isabelle, you must be feeling pretty smug right now. I hope you're happy ruining my wedding like the jealous, pathetic loser you've always been." I stared at my phone, stunned. Of all the things she could have said, this was her opening line. Before I could even decide whether to respond, another text came through. "Isabelle, I don't know what sob story you fed everyone, but let's get one thing straight. Mom and Dad didn't come to your wedding because you didn't invite them. You probably left them out on purpose just so you could play the victim afterward. And now you've turned the whole family against me. For what? Attention? You're disgusting." I closed my eyes and exhaled slowly. She was still in denial. Still refusing to believe that our parents had chosen her happiness over mine, that they had lied to cover it up, and that their lies had finally caught up with them. I could have ignored her. I should have ignored her. But I had been silent for too long. I was done playing nice. So I typed back. "Me, you're right about one thing. I am happy. Not because I ruined your wedding, but because I finally stopped pretending that our family wasn't completely toxic. You think I planned this? That I somehow manipulated our entire family into seeing Mom and Dad for who they really are? That I forced people to stop showing up for you? No, Isabelle. They did that themselves. I expected her to lash out, to send another vicious insult or block me entirely. But then, she called. I hesitated for half a second before answering. The second I picked up, I heard it. Her breathing was shaky. Was she crying? She started, her voice hoarse. You really think they skipped your wedding because of me? I blinked. I don't think it, I said. I know it. There was a long pause. When she spoke again, her voice had lost its sharpness. Vanessa, I swear I didn't know. I thought they just didn't get the invite. That's what they told me. I could feel my grip tighten on the phone. Was she actually serious? You really expect me to believe you didn't know? I scoffed. I didn't, she snapped, and for once, she sounded honest. Mom and Dad told me they didn't come to your wedding because you didn't invite them, she said, voice trembling now. I believed them. I thought you had done it on purpose because you hated me. Something in my chest twisted. I had spent my whole life thinking Isabelle was in on it, that she knew she was the favorite and played along, but if what she was saying was true, then she had been manipulated too. I don't hate you, I finally said, my voice softer than I intended. Then why did you tell everyone they skipped your wedding because of me? Because that's what happened. I took a deep breath and told her everything. How Lucas overheard her crying on the phone at my engagement party while our parents comforted her. How they tried to gaslight me into thinking I never invited them. How they immediately jumped to defend their reputation instead of apologizing when the truth came out. By the time I finished, she was silent. God, they're going to lose everything over this, aren't they? I hesitated. What do you mean? They were already struggling to pay for this wedding, she admitted. Dad's business hasn't been doing great, but they still wanted to throw a huge wedding for me because, well, you know them. Image is everything. I swallowed hard. This just kept getting worse. But now, she continued, half the family refuses to come. They don't want to waste their money on a wedding that no one will even be at. So what are you going to do? I asked. There was a long pause. Then, I don't know, she admitted. For the first time in her life, Isabelle sounded completely lost. After that phone call with Isabelle, I expected something. Maybe a grand apology from my parents. Unlikely. Or some dramatic retaliation. More likely. Instead, the family group chats went dead. No updates about Isabelle's wedding, no calls from my parents, just silence. Then, out of nowhere, a text from my cousin Brianna. Brianna, hey Vanessa, have you heard? Isabelle's wedding is off. I froze. Off? I immediately called her. She picked up on the first ring. What do you mean off? I demanded. Canceled. Done. Over, Brianna said. Apparently, they put down a deposit for the venue, but when your parents realized that almost no one was coming, they decided it wasn't worth spending the rest of the money. I blinked. Wait. You're telling me they just canceled everything? Yep. Called off the whole thing. Said they'd reschedule for later, but we both know that's not happening. I sat back, stunned. This was my parents' nightmare. They had spent years building up the perfect image of their family. They had put everything into making Isabelle's wedding a social event of the century. And now, they had nothing. But what about Isabelle? I texted her. No response. Then, a day later, she called me. I picked up, unsure of what to expect. Would she be furious? Would she blame me? Instead, I was met with a tired, hollow voice. It's really over, she said, almost in disbelief. You mean the wedding? No, she sighed. All of it. Mom, Dad, their whole obsession with making me their perfect little princess. It's all crumbling. I didn't know how to respond. They spent so much money on this wedding, she continued. They thought if they threw a big enough party, people would just forget what they did to you. But when people started pulling out, they panicked. I frowned. So they just canceled instead of, oh, I don't know, apologizing? Isabelle laughed, but it wasn't a happy laugh. You know them, she said. They don't apologize. They deflect, they blame, they manipulate. And now they're trying to act like it's my fault this whole thing fell apart. I felt a stab of something unexpected. Pity. For so long, I had seen Isabelle as the villain, the perfect golden child who never had to suffer, but in that moment I realized something. She was just as trapped as I had been. I had broken free, but she had spent her entire life being their trophy. So, what happens now? I asked quietly. Another long silence. Then, I don't know, she admitted, but I think I need to start over. Her voice wavered. I don't want to be part of their games anymore, Vanessa. I don't want to be their puppet. I swallowed the lump in my throat. Was this real? Was she actually breaking away from them? Are you okay? I asked hesitantly. Another bitter laugh. Not really, she admitted, but for the first time I think I might actually be figuring out who I am, without them. Weeks passed, then months. I never heard from my parents again. Their pride was too great to admit they had lost. They were probably still telling themselves that it was my fault, that they had done nothing wrong, but I no longer cared. As for Isabelle, she wasn't suddenly my best friend. We weren't magically fixing years of damage overnight, but she was trying. She had moved out of my parents' house, cut off contact with them, and started therapy. She even reached out a few times. Not for drama, not to fight, but just to talk. And honestly, for the first time in my life, I actually felt like I had a sister. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the story, please like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And if you've ever had a wild HOA experience, we'd love to hear about it. See you in the next one.